Hi, I'm Dr. Maxwell Ubah, and it's a privilege for me to come your way every week on this radio station. Last week, I asked you a question whether you'll be content to remain as a footnote in history or choose to up the ante, push the envelope of your performance, and fulfill your life by being either a book or a chapter, a section or a paragraph, or even a sentence that will inspire the next generation to live differently. If you missed last week's episode, you could listen to it on my podcast page at www.anchor.fm/Maxwell-Ubah. Today we'll be continuing our exploration on maximizing your life by answering the question, who would you blame if you don't succeed? What would be your excuse? This message is a two-part series. In this episode, we'll look at the blame game, why people blame others, and the goal of the blame game. So let's start by defining the word blame. According to the dictionary, to blame someone or something is to feel or declare that someone or something is responsible for a fault or wrong. My definition of blame is this. It's the excuse we give from taking responsibility for the negative consequences of our actions. And right from the Garden of Eden, when the first man blamed God for the woman and the woman blamed the serpent for her actions, humanity is saddled with the blame game. We look for people, situations, and circumstances, and sometimes even deities to blame for eating the fruit, failing in life, becoming obese, or even an addict. When someone drinks and drives and causes an accident, he should be held responsible. But if you ask the person, what would they do? He will blame it on the alcohol, as if the alcohol jumped from the bottle and entered the system without his involvement. Was it really the woman who made Adam eat the fruit? Or did Adam choose to eat the fruit? Did he have an option not to eat the fruit? Was it really your father who made you not to finish school, get that job, struggle in life, until you come to the point where you accept responsibilities for your past and stop apportioning blame? You would never make progress in life. One truth I have discovered is that people who cannot accept responsibility for their past and mistakes cannot accept responsibility for their futures and possibilities. Only when we come to that moment, when we look at ourselves in the mirror and say like the prodigal son, I'm responsible for being estranged from my father, from being broke and feeding swine. Or in our case, I'm responsible for not graduating from school, for the business not breaking even, for being obese, for the marriage not working, and so on. Do we find the strength to make the changes necessary for our futures and start the journey back home to restoration? Your marriage can be restored. Your business can flourish. You can become financially independent. You can shed that excess weight. But the starting point is the discipline to refuse to blame someone or something else for your current state. Why do people blame others? There are so many reasons, but I want to give 3 in this episode. The first reason we blame others is that it is easy and a natural human tendency. It is the default mode of the fallen human nature. It is as if the fall of the first couple made every human being susceptible to the blame game and the blame gene. As kids, when we commit an offense, the natural tendency is to deny it and put the responsibility on someone else. Only when our parents probed deeper would we admit it. So blaming or running away from responsibility is in our fallen nature. But as you can see, it's an attribute of children. So let me ask you, my listener, are you an adult or still acting out like a child by blaming others for your actions? The second reason we play the blame game is as a defensive mechanism to protect our fragile egos from being bruised because we have fallen short of our standards. That way, you don't have to admit you are wrong and have no need to apologize. So a partner who strays outside the marital vows, instead of admitting to it, will blame the other partner for not being attentive to his or her needs. He or she is simply saying, I didn't do anything wrong. You made me do it. This is the classic behavior of narcissists who will make people feel bad for their wrong actions. So instead of them apologizing, we end up apologizing to them because they are playing the victim mentality. It's another subtle form of manipulation. They want us to accept responsibility for their mistakes. The third reason we play the blame game is the hope that we will not be punished or will be released from the possible consequences of our actions. As it were, we want the law of seed time or harvest, or Newton's law of action and reaction are equal and opposite, to be suspended on our behalf. When we blame others and refuse to accept responsibility, we are saying we should be excused from the consequences of our bad behaviors. The drunk driver in our example who killed his passengers and blamed it on the alcohol wants us to be sympathetic to him, or even blame the beverage company for the accident. So you see, my listener, that the ultimate goal of the blame game is to excuse one's irresponsible behavior. A leader who continually blames the past government for his or her failure to meet campaign promises, or a company who blames the government for its failure to deliver on customers' expectations, or a manager who blames his or her team for the failure to meet its numbers, wants to be excused. Actually, we want people to applaud us for our failures or irresponsible behaviors. What's the problem with the blame game? Why blaming is easy and protects one's fragile ego and pleads for us to be excused from the consequences of our actions, does it really achieve the desired results? You can blame the lecturer for failing your exams, but it won't change the fact that you failed and have to repeat the class. You can blame the woman for eating the fruit, but it won't change the fact that you are naked and have been driven out of the garden. You can blame the government all you want for your financial difficulties, but it won't change the fact that you still need to pay your children's school fees. You can blame your parents for not sending you to school, but it won't change the fact that you are not educated. Blaming might justify failure, but it doesn't check the fact that that person is a failure. So who would you really blame for your failures? Blaming locks us to our past and holds us bound to people and circumstances. Only when we get to the point when we stop blaming others will we find the strength to cut off the umbilical cords to the people we think are holding us back. Each time you blame someone for your present condition, you are building a cage over your life and you've handed over the key to that person. I'm yet to see someone who blamed his way to a brighter and happier future. Blaming makes people bitter in life. You cannot become better by blaming others for your past experience. The seed of bitterness is thinking that someone owes you something, and because he or she did not do that thing, that's why you are where you are. You have technically attributed the power of your future to that individual. How sad can that be? Why we might blame people, we need to ultimately realize that we are responsible for our current states and affairs. For every situation you can blame for being where you are, someone somewhere went through the same situation and came out on top, and you too can. Next week, we'll be looking at the common reasons people give for their failures in life and how to overcome them. Till I come your way again, same time, same station next week. Remember, you have no one to blame for your failures in life. I am Dr. Maxwell Ubah. You can connect with me on my social media handles. God bless you.
Thank you for joining today's session on Maximizing Life with Dr. Maxwell Ubah. We believe you have received wisdom to maximize your life. For more information, questions or comments, kindly reach us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Maximizing Life with Dr. Maxwell Ubah, or write us at drmaxwellubah@gmail.com. Till we come your way, same time, same station, next week. Don't forget that you are the best of you.